I am the Commissar, that's my name. Forged alliance forever, that's the game. Which of these players have a claim to fame? Well, that's what we're here to find out. And, my dear viewers, here is, for the first time, the one, the only, that exemplar of maps, SETON'S Clutch. That classic map where many of you will have cut your teeth, as it were, on the game. You all know what the map looks like. Big heap of reclaim in the middle, all these mixes at the top and bottom, 2 oceans, 2 little islands. If there are any new players here, you will soon be finding out all about SETON'S. We have the North team and the South team. In the air slot at the back for the Northern team, here we have Foxtrot 1. He's 600 rated. He's in dark blue and he is playing Cybran. In the rock position, we have Hellmand, who is 700 rated. He is Eon and he is in orange, and he has opened, as is quite common for the rock position, first air. On the beach position, we have AS90, who is a 900 rated Cybran and he's in yellow. And last but not least, for Team North, already heading forward, here we see in his Seraphim ACU stomping forward Kairen, who is 900 rated and in light green. Facing off against them in the south, here in the air position, we have Doirin, highest rated player in the game at 1300. He's Seraphim and he's bright pink. And going up for some reclaim in the pass here, in the rock position, this is Aurorus, lowest rated player in the game, 400. He is Cybran and he is Cyan. In the beach position, this is Nutteber. He is 1000 rated, he is Eon and he is in dark purple. And last but not least, PokerAceKing, 500 rated in UEF and in Burgundy. He's also walking towards the middle, as you would expect from a front player. So, a couple of things to note. First of all, Kairen is already at the middle and already has a lot of nice stuff queued up. He's there well before Poker. Poker's got a couple of engineers in, but unfortunately they've been immediately seen by Kairen's comm. Some tasty reclaim is to be found up here. Often that's sent for by some engineers, but Aurorus has taken it with his comm. That said, he is expanding quite well with all his dudes. He started first land rather than going for the straight up airplay that many rock players do these days. But first thing of note here, we have an engineer drop going across from Nutty to claim the side island for Hellmand and see if they can evict the other team off it. Neither Aurorus nor AS90 have yet made a play for this island over here. We're also seeing that these players are not following the current meta for SETON'S, which involves the beach player walking up to join the front player in the fight for the reclaim. We'll check in when a little more of these have been hoovered up to see who's been winning that fight for the reclaim. So there are a couple of air units floating around here, but I do not think they're going to catch Nutty's drop. They are absolutely not. He's got some defensive units in there in case they were already colonizing fellas down, but there are not, and Nutty is able to take it reasonably unopposed, and Hellmand just flies away with his drop. He doesn't want to take it on. He's scouted it, he's seen it, and he is not at all happy. Here, however, we have a counter drop from AS90, not going for the island, which is still perfectly available. Where's he heading? Well, he's trying to come into the back of Poker's base and cause a bit of damage there. And that's all Artie is why he's not going for anything more forward. It's immediately been spotted. This engineer could be doing a bit of reclaim work. But parking a tank, is it just going to take out the land factory straight away? It looks like it might. I'd be going for the mass, especially that T2 Mets. Meanwhile, Aurorus has dropped up here with engineers on his island and is quickly laying claim to it. 2 mexes only taken out in the end by that drop, but it will also have meant that Poker didn't get quite as many units to the front as he would otherwise have liked. We've still got 4 or 5 of the big wrecks yet to claim. Normally I'd expect to see the players scooping up a little more of this stuff with their comms and engineers before setting down to entrench themselves. But both players seem to be doing it, so I don't think that deviation from the holy codex of SETON'S is going to influence them a great deal. We do have an early bomber out here harassing from Nutty. It's picked up 3 units so far, and may get some more. He's just straight up bombing the Hydro rather than going for any of these NGs, which I would probably prefer to do were I in Nutty's place. And we notice here that Foxtrot already has his T3 air factory up before 7 minutes, whereas Doirin has barely started. But Doirin does have significantly more mass income than Foxtrot, so we'll see how that pays off. A couple of mexes and NGs taken out by that bomber, but it's being cleaned up. Oh, this looks like it might be quite fun. Let's see what that transport's going to be up to. Keep an eye on that while we have a look around the map. Meanwhile, early eco quite balanced, slight favour of Team 2 by about 30 mass per tick. Doirin's still not at T3 air, but the T3 P-Gen isn't yet up for Foxtrot, so he can't really make use of it. And here, some arty has been picked up from the island by that transport and is being ferried across to drop against Hellmand. So I'm enjoying this aggressive play from Nutty, who's also got his first frigate already in Hellmand's naval base. The arty drops and wastes no time in smacking out a Mex. We'll check back on it and see what it can do. In the middle, both players seem to have really stopped fighting the reclaim war, so Poker got 3k reclaim, Kairen got 6.7k reclaim, so Kairen definitely won the reclaim war up there. Kairen also has a much stronger eco than Poker. So there's 1 mex, 2 mexes out. That air factory is also out. They're quickly throwing up turrets to stop it, but the turrets won't really stop arty very well, and this is at least a T2 mex here, if not there. Another T2 mex. These are all T2 mex, I think. So this raid is producing immense amounts of value for Nutty, who's taken out at least 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2, whatever that adds up to, mass production for Hellmand, and deciding he doesn't care to mess around with those turrets, has just driven on. flares are a good response to Artie, I like that. And he's got a few of them trickling in here, has Hellmand, to stop the Artie from Nutty. And stop it they do, but still, that is 41 and 3 T2 mexes taken out by the Artie drop, so that got amazing value for Nutty. AS90 has T2 Navy online, and we're beginning to see the first destroyer about to roll off, and there it goes. So that could be causing problems against the southern team, which has a decent number of subs, but only has T1 Navy. Nutty, meanwhile, has also got up to T2 Navy, despite his investments in messing around with Hellmand up here. And Hellmand does not have T2 Navy, so it's usual on the SETON'S that the rock positions will be outdoing the beach positions in terms of eco and tech, and we generally see the yin and yang, as it were, pushing here and here. But on this game of lower rated legends, to steal somebody's terminology, I forget whose, was it Willow, was it Guile, or was it T90, for those of you who watch Age of Empires? Anyway, these majestic players of less mature rating, whatever, it so happens that the higher rated players on each ocean by some way are the ones on the beach position, so we're seeing the yin and the yang going this way. Hellmand not under a severe threat here yet, because there isn't any T2 from Nutty messing around in this area yet, but here Poker has been forced back into the water by the T2 Navy coming down from AS90, and there isn't anything T2 coming out from Aurorus to stop it yet. So this assistance could help Kairen very well in his push to take the causeway, and there's more T2 with frigate support coming down from the north. Deciding he won't be able to take out this naval emplacement right away, Nutty's navy has gone up to see if he can harass any stuff around the actual beach, the actual rock position, but he's already harassed it all with those drops, and so he doesn't find anything to kill, and he has got no underwater stuff in there, so this shot will just die slowly to all the submarines unless he can come up with a counter. Now he has got a destroyer on the way which will counter with a couple of submarines, but he may need to produce a couple of sub-hunters now that he knows what Hellmand has got. There are multiple destroyers up here for AS90, and they should take out the reasonably small number of submarines from Aurorus that are facing off against them. AS90 also expanding his T1 production so that he has the spam to back up his destroyer fleets. And he's also, from the look of it, producing Barracudas as well, T2 sub-hunters, to ensure that he's continuing to be successful on that front. It feels like if there's a fight, if there's a push, then AS90 just crushes the top pond. Is the same true of Nutty in the southern pond? Well, he has got 2 destroyers out, and I'm not seeing any upgrade on the way as yet for Hellmand, but Hellmand's got a little more navy just already out there, so it may be a little harder for Nutty to have such a overwhelming victory. Here we have a push coming in from Kairen. Kairen has T2 on his comm, and he's backing it up with T2 point defense, and it looks like this is going to be quite a win for Kairen, and he's also got engineers backing it up and taking the reclaim, which is very nice. Look at that, he's at nearly... Wait, actually that's Doirin who has has of course eaten up all the trees around his base. Kairen at 13k reclaim compared to Poker's much lesser 3.7. Poker's getting T2 there, and he gets it now, and he could be able to make a push back, maybe sneak out of the water, put up a turret, but the turrets will have difficulty because there's so many mobile missile launchers in this push from Kairen. And we have another arty drop on its way from Nutty, presumably to cause yet more woes for poor old Hellmand. Meanwhile though, as this push continues from Kairen, the navy from AS-90 is also heading in, and he's got enough destroyers in there that he could do some quite deadly bombardment work on Aurorus beach, on Aurorus's rock position, the actual rock position from the ocean. Aurorus has got himself up to T2 now, though he's still producing T1 bolts from it. We need to see a destroyer out here from Aurorus in order to counter all of this. This drop from Nutty has landed and is doing damage, and we'll see how much it takes out. One mech so far under turret, about to get a T2 mech there, but I think the important thing is how much can this navy do to Aurorus. Aurorus is sent in only subs, and I can see his thinking behind it because there's so many frigates in here, but it means that destroyers and the sub-hunter can deal with that without it taking any far away from the buildings, from the surface guns, that's the word, of the destroyers. His T2 air HQ is taken out by AS-90's fleet, and AS-90 retargets against some mexes, and he'll probably also be able to take out Aurorus land HQ. So here Nutty has done the same thing, so both rock players are now in quite significant trouble from the land players on each, from the beach players on each side. So that's all the 5 of the mexes gettable from the sea and both HQs, so that's quite significant trouble for Aurorus. Exactly the same story from here, although it was helped out by that drop, of course. All 5 mexes gettable from the sea, and I don't think that Hellmand actually had land or air HQ. Oh, he has got a land HQ, and it's still operational down here. And he, having been driven out of the water entirely by the navy from Nutty, is countering with blazes. He's countering with hover tanks. Let's see whether that gets him anywhere. So Poker, meanwhile, he's not been able to stop this push from Kairen. And Kairen has just got nothing left. The push is being slowed down by Nutty's navy, which is redirected back to shoot bits of it, now that he's effectively cleared Hellmand out of the water. But Kairen's got enough that what's Poker going to have left? It's got to the point where there's no point sniping the comm, because what's he going to do? And that wasn't actually a kill, that was Poker suiciding on finding he had literally nothing, which I think is okay. He didn't have anything that he could really contribute. He didn't have any chance attacking that army because it's like mostly T2. Meanwhile though, let's take a brief look at air. We said that Doirin was much related to T3, but he's got 32 ASFs, and I think Foxtrot's got a lot less. Foxtrot's got only 10. So we have a huge air lead for the southern team now. And these torpedo bombers are coming out knowing that Doirin can protect it, to try and get this naval force away from the naval yards of Aurorus, who's desperately trying to get as many destroyers as he possibly can up and running, but I don't think he's going to get a single one of those. He might get this one if he's lucky, but it's going to be close. So Kairen is splitting his forces. His missile launchers are heading down to harass the construction yards for Doirin, while his RT moves off to see if it can score some quick mass killers by the looks of things. Yeah, these fellows from Aurorus. And indeed, Aurorus did not get any destroyers out. He has been completely bashed off the map, and these fellows are heading off to take care of the island, whereas these Salems are getting a bit naughty, walky, as they come out of the water and push into Aurorus's base through its, for want of a better word, back passage. There are gunships now in defence for Doirin, and they are taking out the push from Kairen. AS-90 does have T1 air in support, but that's not going to last long because Doirin has seen it and is coming in with his ASFs. Foxtrot has also brought in his ASFs, but that's just a straight up air loss, and his small air force is wiped out in no time at all. 2 of these mexes were taken out by Kairen's RT, but actually make that 3. But Aurorus sent his comm in and was able to take them out, and in combination with the defense from Doirin, that was all of that. Meanwhile, the navy from AS-90 has knocked Aurorus off the island, and AS-90 wastes no time in dropping it in order to claim the eco for himself. So that will mean that both the beach players have their opponent's islands. Quite a lot of hover tanks now coming in for Hellmand, and he's pushing out to see if he can reclaim a presence in the water. There is a torpedo bomber from Foxtrot, but Hellmand has also got himself up to T2 air and is building torpedo bombers of his very own, so he's making an effort using air and land to take back the seas. The gunships from Doirin have taken out all the Salems that landed. Of course, they couldn't have the cruisers walk with them for protection, and so that they don't have to worry about the fleets from Nutty, Kairen is now sending Zuis out and around to invade the south. Doirin, finding himself with no buffer player, as it were, in between him and the front line, has produced a number of land factories and is just spamming Zuis to the north across the causeway. More drops of, what are those? Are they just engineers? Yeah, more engineer drops coming in from AS-90. Do we know where they're going? Not yet. Here, maybe. Maybe they're planning to set up their own naval yards over here. We'll see in a moment. These torp bombers and blazes aren't getting a great deal done because there's a good amount of cruisers in here from Nutty, and Nutty is also making good use of that shorter cruiser range but improved firepower by keeping everything quite close together. T3 Navy on the field for AS-90 though. He's got a battleship out, and while that will help just hold back anything around here, he's already cleared most of the stuff in this area, so I don't know to what extent that battleship's going to help him right now, because there's just no naval threat to fight against. That said, we've also got a battleship out from Nutty. He's got a little more that he could do with it though. He can clear here, he can clear here with that battleship. Gunship defense out from Doirin. That's quite a significant amount of Vilthals. And since Sarah don't get a T3 gunship, Vilthals are basically among the toughest T2 gunships you can get. So that's a significant force. He should be able to clear this up. Yes, AS90 was trying to drop a construction yard over here with those engineers, but those gunships are going to see to it, no problems. These Zuis didn't have really any opposition, because presumably Kairen wasn't expecting any land push coming up against him. He has got T3 lands, he has got Othniel siege tanks ready to stop them, but they might waste quite a bit of Kairen's eco by taking out this line of air defense that he was putting up. That said, they might even not get a killer thanks to that Othniel. So this trickle of T3 units should be more than enough to stop a bunch of Zuis. However, that is something that this battleship can do. It can cause severe problems for Kairen, and Kairen will probably have to worry about that far more than he will have to worry about the Zuis from Doirin. The gunship fleet has cleared up AS90's drop on this island, but there's now a carrier in here for AS90, and that, combined with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7, 8, is that 9 cruisers? Those gunships are quickly going to get eaten by that navy. And they back away before they're simply torn apart. More battleships from Nutty coming in to join the fun. Hellmand continues the harassment with torp bombers, and it does get a few hits in, but then these cruisers here are more than enough to protect the navy. A ping goes down on the battleship, someone's unhappy with it. Probably Kairen. He's using his defensive troops, he's using his mexes. The rest of the navy has pushed Hellmand off his mexes closest to the coast. Speaking of ecos, Team 2, the southern team, they have 150 or so, maybe 180 eco leads, so despite having lost more actual usable territory here and here, well, this they've sort of recaptured but haven't really had any chance to do anything with. Despite all of this, they actually have more eco. The island that Nutty has laid claim to will help, as will this quick land grab from Nutty here, although how long... He's on his way to T3 before capping these. That feels bad. And they're dying. That's a huge, huge loss of mass. Kairen, running back towards AS90's base, doesn't think that he's in a good position to stand and hold this position. And we're beginning to see SCUs being dropped out by AS90 on to the rock position once held by Aurorus, and maybe he'll be more successful setting up his beachhead this time. He's going straight for Sam, so he knows that there's that risk of the gunships coming in. These Urshis have been doing a delicious job of clearing up all the Zoes, but there's nothing they can really do against that battleship. And now we have torrents coming out from Nutty, which will massively increase the reach of his navy stationed in this bay below the rock. Was that Kairen getting a bit salty in the chat down there? He's probably already quite annoyed. If he wasn't, then AS90 certainly is. Not happy bunnies, these two fellows up here. I like this going straight for eco grab, because I don't think that there's much that the southern team will be able to do with what they have, stopping this lot being grabbed and quickly paying for itself. Second torrent coming in from Nutty. It's going to be hard for the northern team to see off this attack. At half an hour into the game, I traditionally ask, who do you think's going to win? Tell me this time. Go into the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe and obey. And tell me at half an hour, who do you think's going to win? Now, I'm going to be asking this question again later, so don't forget to... Well, first of all, don't forget to see what's going on down here, which is that a gunship raid has come in, but those are Geminis, so... Oh, they're both Cyber. Did Foxtrot just give his Air Force? Yes, he must have. Either way, AS90 has air of his own, and the gunships claimed one SCU scalp, but mostly they just dropped an awful lot of reclaim. Like, an awful lot, like 20,000 reclaim on this area for the SCUs of AS90 to hoover up. And look at these torrents, they're just crushing over here. All of this area no longer used for real estate because torrents have smashed it all up. Our Russian bomber on the way for Doirin. Sorry about that. I do think Doirin has air. In fact, we can have a quick look at the air numbers. Doirin has 140 ASFs. AS90 has given back or lost all the ASFs he had. And Foxtrot has only 66. So, definite air lead for Doirin, which means that building this bomber is going to be a good idea. But how do you like that? Foxtrot has started work on a Scathis at the back of his base. Is that the best place for a Scathis? I don't know. It's not shielded, and it hasn't really got the ability to build shields around it. Maybe here would have been better to put up a bit of protection for it. But let's see if it's spotted and whether it finishes. T3 gunships out from Foxtrot, who is trying to stop some of these torrents, of which we now have 3. But the number of... and they do kill one. But the cruisers clean them up quickly. Restorers out from Hellmand, but they're too little, too late to the party. And the cruisers just take them out. Now, we got a monkey sneaking through the water there from AS90. Here, Doirin has redirected his Zui spam, and since there isn't any land defense here yet, it's killing some of the turrets, the AA turrets that were put up, but these loyalists will quickly eat their way through them, and that's not even thinking about the defensive fire coming from the Navy, so I don't think that this is the greatest success story in waiting. That XP bomber, that Arwasser, that Arswasher, nearly done. Now, it looks to me like the monkey's just been given an order to come here. Will it go around the back way? Will it come down here? And if so, should it just push straight in rather than going around the back way? There's that bomber done. How far can those torrents actually reach? Oh, look at that. They can reach right the way into AS90 space. That is pretty brutal. In fact, they might already have been doing some work there, hence this line of defenses. The bomber launches and begins a turn. Hellmand starting a GC. Don't know what he'll really be able to do with that in his current position. AS90 has hidden his comm in the pond. The central pond rather than the back pond. Of course, that's one of the first places that enemy players will look to get a comm snipe, but we'll see how that turns out. Scout wave out from Doirin, and here comes the XP bomber, which has gone out round here and is coming back in. He wants to evict AS90 from this position, and that's quite some eviction, but AS90 has again been given over a big heap of ASFs, and he's going to lose them all, but they take out the bomber. I say given, he had a T2 air HQ, he's still got a T2 air HQ, so he must have been given those. Unless he's got... oh no, what am I talking about? He's got a huge air production facility here. He's got a bunch of carriers. Not giving them at all, my mistake. I like that. I've got a bit of a soft spot for sneaky factorying in a corner somewhere, and while that's not super sneaky or super cornery, that's a lot of ASF production he's got on 4 carriers. And you've got the eco to support it, 400 per tick. Speaking of eco, Southern team's still ahead by 200, but that's less of a difference now that both teams are up above 1,000 per tick in total. The monkey comes down the causeway, but instead of pushing in down here, or even taking this out, as I had a good chance to do, it is just following its initial order and walking in over here somewhere. But what's this? What is this? Nutty has started a paragon in the back of his base. So that could be some quite fun shenaniganry. We've got 2 game enders now under construction, 1 from each team. Few strats gathering up from Doirin. I wonder what he plans to do with them. Another XP bomber being killed up by Doirin. The first wasn't super successful, but if he can protect the next one better, that's quite the construction feat for air now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 carriers and an 8th under construction. Oh, and there's one down here already. So 8 carriers and 9th under construction. This army does need more anti-air in it if it's going to get anything done, I think. Otherwise it would just walk away from this area and the arse washer will smack it. That Strat Snipe flies out here. I wonder where it's preparing to go. Yet more torrents from Nutty are attacking Hellmand from behind. He's got his GC done, but what's he doing with it? Could he be planning to send it down the causeway? We'll see. The Arswasher finishes and it could be heading north, it could be heading to do some damage over here. Nutty's got a GC, where's it heading? Looks like it's heading over here, maybe it's planning to fight this monkey. This monkey has inched forward a bit and is bombarding Aurorus at range. Aurorus putting a lot of tech... 3 air factories, what's he planning? But I think that that point will shortly be moot, as although he has got a few gunships around, there's a decent amount of AA in there. Nope, the Arswasher comes back and makes a play for the monkey. Boop. Monkey isn't fully in the blast and only takes a bit of damage, and now there is a lot of AA here, backed up by an SCU building AA unit. Arswasher still in the green though. Ha! Curse of the commentator there. Arswasher now down. But Nutty's GC is coming in to defend. With all this ground-based T3 AA running in to support the monkey, the Aurorus has to be careful, but it is doing the damage slowly. I don't like these fighters absorbing the fire though. I think he needs to make sure he can keep the fighters now that he knows that there's a huge air force from AS-90 hiding in the carriers. Nonetheless, Nutty's GC finally deals the killing blow before the monkey can get any real damage done to Doirin, although it has done a lot of very nasty damage to Aurorus. And what's Doirin finished there? He's finished a chicken. So, it looks like one of the torrents was actually caught out by this GC, which surprises me a bit. But he now finds himself with less to do, because this torrent can simply move back and far from there. Meanwhile, AS-90 has dropped up here with a bunch of SCUs, and he is wasting no time in covering the area with Sam's, he's not capping his T3 mexes. I wish he would cap his T3 mexes. He'd have such an eco advantage if he did that. The teams are now actually even in eco. Nutty wasting no time in grabbing the Monkey Lord wreck with these engineers. How's that Paragon? That Paragon is nearly done. That's quite impressive. It's in the green. And when that happens, what will eco mean then, huh? But there's the Scathis complete. Where's it firing? Looks like it's firing straight for Nutty. Do they actually know about the Paragon? They do. They've seen it under construction. So that could be the first target. That would be a pretty wise target, if you ask me. Meanwhile, the chicken walks into the forward base of AS90. Oh, the Paragon's done and they've seen it. But in general, Nutty's stuff is just being killed by the Scathis. I don't think they're focusing anything in particular. The Navy is doing its best to take down the chicken. I don't know whether they're going to be able to do enough before the chicken's Iron Storm could just crush this. All this RAM production is producing bricks now, which I think are a good counter to the chicken. They can run around it, surround it, and then run away quite quickly. They're reasonably fast for T3 units. Chicken goes down. Their Iron Storm's got a lot of damage it can do, but I think at least a couple of those will survive. Oof. It killed the arse washer. The Scathis killed the arse washer. That's pretty fun. And it's adding insult to injury by pummeling the reclaim as well. What's he doing with Paragon? He is building a Salvation down here. Another chicken coming in from Doirin. And now there's less to stop it, though AS90 does have a few whaler gunships around the place. And this Scathis, it's being targeted on the Paragon, and the fire just rains down. This is Doirin looking for that Scathis. He definitely will see it there. And I'm pretty sure that's Scathis is focused on the Paragon, trying to stop it as soon as possible. Huge air fight goes down, and looks like Doirin took his eye off the ball and has his air completely crushed by the northern teams. And well, now that Doirin's got no air, sure there's a line of SAMs, but these gunships, these heaps of, that's some interesting names on those gunships there. They go for the Paragon. They break through the shields and boom! Nutty's Paragon is taken out by that gunship wave, but that's what the Strat Sniper is planning. Again, Sam's for it to fly over, but I don't think that this Scathis is going to be super happy with that wave of bombers. Are they going to kill it? The bombs fall. And that's not a Scathis anymore. So, the Scathis killed the Paragon, but was then sniped out in response by Doirin's bombers. How did that salvation get up? So that salvation is more than half done thanks to the Paragon, but of course now there just isn't that unlimited eco to fuel it, and the Aurorus is being sucked up by these cheeky chappies from Nutty. And Doirin starts a YOLO. We're big on the game enders. Nutty's just left this GC defending against a push that might come down from this direction. These crowds of curiously named whalers such a spoon. Definitely the first thing I would name a flying machine if I had one to name. Such a spoon. HMS such a spoon. No. Nope. I don't think they're going to get very far because they're just pushing in and there's SAMs around, and that's not enough to make a critical mass. Will they even do significant damage here? Well, these fighters should soon see to it. But that is some monkey mass production down here. That's a lot of Razor CUs, and they're churning them out pretty fast. There's already 2 and a third underway. They've spotted the YOLO under construction, but it hasn't got very far. And do you see what I see? That Salvation is up and running. And it's probably going straight for the air grid in the north. That is what I would be doing. Another scath is being attempted here for Foxtrot, but with it that far from completion, I think the Salvation will definitely have something to say about it. Is he focusing the SMD? I didn't see any. I mean, there's a YOLO being built slowly, but I don't think there's any nukes ready in the south, so I think this is just general damage. Foxtrot's com, why is he running away from the Salvation's line of fire? That's a slightly bigger gunship raid, and it will take out that GC if it stops. 700 hit points just in one gunship back and poke that GC. It's obviously trying to get something, but it's been spotted. Doirin's now tiny Air Force looks like it's going to die quite quickly to this. But he's got a lot of SAMs in the back of the base, and those gunships don't feel like they're going to get a great deal done. They are not. Those are just going down. The Salvation, meanwhile, has retrained itself on AS-90's base. I think that could be trouble for AS-90 if most of his eco weren't in the SCUs dotted around the map. Speaking of ecos, Southern Team has regained a lead by only 100 per tick, but still a lead. However, this looks like trouble for the Southern Team. The Salvation nearly got Kairen in hiding in AS-90's base, but no. Oh, the monkeys have spotted something in the water and they make a diversion for it. They of course have torps. And It's poor old Aurorus, who is picked off by the monkeys. I think the comm was the last thing he had, but he was staying until the bitter end. An honourable ploy. So these monkeys pushing in, 2 of them, backed up by a decent, 3 of them now, backed up by a decent horde of bricks. Strap bombers and heaps of gunships are coming in to try and kill them, and this one's already lost a lot of its health, but the carriers launch their waves upon waves upon waves of fighters. And the monkeys are causing havoc. The shields are going down. The air grid is beginning to crumble. The YOLO is swept aside in a moment. One of the monkeys dies. Do they know that Doirin's comm is right there? Another monkey dies. Could Doirin actually survive this despite his comm having been underneath 2 monkeys? But there's 2 more coming in. And they've seen him. Have they? Doirin's comm gets targeted by the monkey and boom, down he goes. So suddenly the southern air grid is out. We are 4, well, don't know how much you count. Kairen has actually come back quite a bit in there. I'm surprised that this hasn't been just smacked out by the navy from Nutty. But let's do a monkey in here. So now we are 4v1. I said I'd ask again, at the 55-minute mark, who do you think is gonna win? Because 4v1. All of the north in the northern team hands, as is half of the south. The middle of the south in nobody's hands, and just this little bit in the hands of Nutty, who has 4 players to take on, but he is the highest rated player remaining in the game at 1000. Only by a small margin. Both AS90 and Kairen are 900 rated. The Salvation is now targeting the naval HQ for AS90. The corpses of 4 monkeys are now lying in the old airbase, but that's still a lot of bricks. Nutty does have a GC, which is arriving a little bit late on the scene, in my opinion. Ooh, I like this. The Salvation's now turned itself on the Navy. Perhaps it's trying to stop the air production by taking out the carriers? No, it's spamming on the battleships for now. Nutty going for another Paragon and another Salvation. Quite the investment. Is this what I think it is? It actually is. My friends, we are seeing defensive Salvation fire. Is it achieving a great deal? I'm not sure, but defensive Salvation fire nonetheless. The GC goes down. But there's another one coming in. I think with his trickle of GCs, Nutty has enough to stave off this wave of well, I say wave, trickle of bricks. But look at this, he's got some more GCs and they're heading up here. Mind you, Hellmand has these GCs, which have been slowly building up and walking down, and they're heading down here. Salvation has retrained itself back on the air grid in the north, because if it can take out that HQ, there won't be any air production coming out of any of these fellas. That's a lot of whalers. Over here, the GCs from Nutty reach the coast at Hellmand's Rock and start their deadly journey into Hellmand's base. And what can Hellmand do about it? He hasn't really got any land in there at all. Nutty is probably better placed to defend. He has got some GCs down here, but that's 2 GCs and a lot of bricks from AS90 as well. So let's go over to split screen, get rid of the map for the moment, and keep an eye on these 2 attacks. This GC is having enough trouble with the bricks, and these GCs from Hellmand are just walking in unopposed into Nutty's base. They could get his quantum gateway there, that would be quite a bit. There's a lot of mass there for them to pick up, but I think they're just going in straight for the second salvation, which has just been put up for Nutty. Meanwhile, these GCs are trashing Hellmand's base. Hellmand had started on a paragon of his own, but that felt more of a paragon of desperation than a paragon of strength, to be honest. Another GC quickly runs forward from Nutty, but again, that doesn't feel like it's doing a great job against all of this. The Salvations are smashing down on... Both of them are aiming here, but the point is moot, for Hellmand has been taken up in explosive flames by that GC. And poor old AS90 hiding in the pond, that GC just walked past him and smacked into him. So suddenly, where we were 4v1, we're now only 2v1, but the bricks and the GCs, which were Hellmand's and have now been inherited, in fact everything here has been passed across to Kairen, have got in. They've taken out 1 salvation, they've taken out the half-constructed paragon. Gunships from Foxtrot are smashing away at the engineers trying to defend against them. There's still this salvation down here, but Nutty is in the ocean and running away. He doesn't feel like he can stop much of this. But he has been following the same ploy as AS90, and that's a lot of carriers. He probably has quite the air force under construction. Eventually he sees off the land attack from, well, I say from Kairen, from the entire northern team inherited by Kairen. And we have yet more coming in. We have Monkey Lords being walked in and more being produced. We have a Soul Ripper nearly half done over here. Hellmand saying, well played, Purple. Purple is holding out well. The Salvation is again firing defensively. And not to be put off, he's started another salvation. Meanwhile though, this GC, the first one was killed over here, but this GC has just smashed its way all the way around here and is pushing in from the back to where Foxtrot has started yet another Scathis. And where the Salvation is now targeting. So, this GC could be a rude surprise for where Foxtrot has chosen to relocate his base. It walks in and the explosions start happening. Down here though, these Soul Rippers are doing some good work, forcing these GCs to flee into the water. There's more GCs being built, but what are they going to do against the Soul Ripper? This GC seems to be relatively unimpeded in its walk through... Is everything named for a Foxtrot? It actually is. I dislike that. I dislike that. But that was a curiously Welsh or Irish accent from me there. How odd. Either way. GC is still getting work done, but a gunship attack in from Foxtrot is quickly cleared up by SAMs and ASFs, but we've got another Soul Ripper and 2 monkeys. Make that 3 monkeys. Make that 2 Soul Rippers. We've got a lot of experimenters here, and they are going to be causing some trouble for Teleporter. Is he really? Is he going to do that thing? What was achieving though? I suppose if he went for Teleporter and Torpedo, he could pop in here and take out Nutty. Meanwhile, Kairen's inherited base has had a lot of its eco taken out by this GC. And Team 2 back into the lead with 1.2k to just under 1,000. So somehow, despite having only this corner of the map, Nutty is ahead in eco because this GC mainly has been doing so much work smashing up mexes everywhere it goes. A 5-vet hero GC. Salvation's running out of things it can usefully smash. Doirin agrees he can't believe this GC is still alive. But this feels like a bit of danger for Nutty. 3 Soul Rippers smashing down their beatly fire, and they come for the Salvation. And they get it. Suddenly that main offensive weapon of Nutty is out. His crowd of Raz SCUs over here are also looking in a bit of danger, though that's not to say he doesn't have an awful lot of eco hiding under the water here. And Team 1 overtakes in eco again, taking the lead by just under 100 for at least a moment. No, I think they're now significantly ahead now that these Soul Rippers have done the damage, and I don't think there's any quantum gateways left for Nutty to replenish his eco with. he's got 3 GCs coming out of the water and pushing north. What does he know? Not much. He doesn't know where either of the comms are. But then the northern team doesn't know where Nutty's comm is, so he's still got a decent number of ASFs from all his carriers, and they take out they take out all 3 of the Soul Rippers. But it looks like there's more where that came from. What was once a bustling and well-populated map is now just wreckage and rubbish. Look at all that. Look at that reclaim. Imagine being able to get all your hands on that reclaim. There must be 500,000 around there. Slightly less up there, but that's 500,000 reclaim there. That's a huge amount. Another GC following in. So these guys, it's going to be hard to stop them. But what can they actually do up here? Everybody's had their ecos evicted from their main bases. Nutty's is all in the water here. And now he knows that he needs air, and so he's producing carrier upon carrier upon carrier. Look at that, he's got 9 carriers under production to add to the 9 up here. He's got a Tsar under production and 2 more queued up. He knows that flying around is the order of the day, and this hero GC is still alive and still killing stuff. 184 kills, 304,000 mass. I think they've just found. Well, they know there's somebody there, and if they don't think that's the comm, then they must be a bit silly. I think they know that's the comm, or can at least deduce. Oh, but the HQ for Nutty has gone down, so after this sort of finished, which they are, no more carriers for him until he upgrades a new HQ. And we have no fewer than 7 monkeys chasing down Nutty's comm. But we have to go to split screen here. We have Nutty's comm being chased down by monkeys, and we have torpedo bombers heading straight for Kairen's comm, which they can see perfectly well because of this GC. And they know that Nutty's comm is there, they've pinged it. Kairen's monkeys with their torpedoes are chasing down the comm, but that GC has seen Kairen, and the torpedoes go raining down upon him. He's running for the coastline, but I don't think that he's going to make it. Boom! Kairen goes down. And those scouts are still over there. They know what's up. The torps carry on. Meanwhile, though, the monkeys are in range of Nutty's comm. Azar is finished, and it's coming to drop its depth charges on the monkeys. But will it be in time? The monkeys are tickling away, and there's a lot of hit points for those depth charges to work through. But over here, in come the torp bombers. And those torpedoes fly down out of the sky, and Nutty's just not taking much damage from those monkeys, and boom! Foxtrot explodes in a big heap of torpedo fire, and Nutty and the southern team, despite this huge map control deficit, and at the end an eco deficit too, have won the game. What did you think of that, dear viewers? The first SETON'S and was it a bit of back and forth there? You know the drill. Please remember to like, subscribe and obey. And I will see you next time.